Good evening. Welcome to Perrysburg City Council. September 3rd, 2019. We'll start with the roll call.
Okay, Ms. Warren.
Here.
Mr. McIntyre.
Here.
Mr. McCarthy is absent. Mr. Schmidt.
Here.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Here.
Mr. Weber.
Here.
Ms. Williams.
Here.
Please stand if you're able and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council minutes of August 20, 2019.
Thank you, Mayor Mackin. I move to approve the minutes of council meeting of August 20th, 2019, as written. And dispense with the reading.
Can we have some discussion on that quickly?
Well, it's second. All right, so now that we've had a second discussion.
Okay, I have discussion. I intend to vote against this because of the reasons I'm going to give. The author of the minutes incorrectly identified the Recreation Committee as minutes. These reports are not minutes since they are the personal creation of the chair and are never approved at subsequent committee meetings. Reports are not amendable by council because all council members are not present at council meetings. Mr. Smith's comments may be added as an addendum to the council minutes, but they do not change the report itself.
Roll call. Unless we want to have more discussion on that. Or roll call.
Okay, Ms. Warren.
No.
Mr. McIntyre.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
We have no special reports, letters, communications, citizens' concerns. Mr. Ruffner, you're on. Come on up. Please go up to the podium. Thank you.
Rick Ruffner. Most of you know me. I have several businesses in town. I don't live in Perrysburg, but I do have quite a bit of rental property here. That being said, I am here tonight because I really never got clarification on the police coverage for the Christmas parade, whether it's going to be put into the budget or not. I know I have had a conversation with Bridget on several other thoughts, and I am working through some of that right at this time. I just wanted to know whether the police coverage for the Christmas parade is going to be covered, or we don't know at this time yet.
So you're referring to the Christmas parade that's going to happen this calendar year, correct?
Correct.
And I don't believe that's in current budget.
I thought it was good. Made a motion to include it.
Yeah, I will.
The council, I think, amended the budget to include that.
Actually, from my recollection of the actual budget conversation, I had made a discussion of doing that, and I believe it was mentioned that it was taken care of.
I believe that's correct, out of the council line item, yes.
Well, the council line item was, the $10,000 council line was for the Perrysburg Heights Community Center. And when we had the conversation during the budget, I don't know if anybody else recalls the conversation, but I had made mention of moving something in order to do that, but I was told that it was taken care of. We don't need to worry about anything in the budget. I think the journal of the council,
But was it by council or
about the administration.
Okay.
I don't believe, well,
That everything was handled, is all I remember hearing.
Good question.
I will go back to the law director and look at the discussion from the
Yeah, let me
budget
know, because
meeting,
it's,
but I don't recall that council actually ever made a motion or an amendment to the budget. I remember a discussion, but I don't remember a specific motion, but then again, that was 6 months ago, so let me go back and take a look.
because, I was prepared to make that motion. I recall that it was being mentioned that it was handled and taken care of. I don't know if anybody else up here in council recalls that conversation.
The council-
Seeing a couple of people shaking their
Was
heads.
this during the amended budget process or the original
This
budget
was during
process?
the, I believe, the amended budget process.
I remember the conversation, I don't know how it was concluded, but which just raises a question. Zephyr, the police officers that were involved in monitoring that race, was that a special allocation, or how was those
They
overtime
paid
hours?
for those officers The organization did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Zippenberg organization down in Perrysburg,
That required a significant number of.
an inordinate amount, yes.
And if I could comment on that, I will say this, that was a fundraiser. The Christmas parade is not a fundraiser.
Understood.
That's just a community event.
Understood.
I would note that the finance committee, when they, during their June 11th meeting, Mr. Ruffner appeared and made that request. It appears as though Mr. Matuzak and Ms. Williams voted 2-0 to recommend to City Council that the cost of law enforcement for the 2019 Christmas parade be covered by the city, provided that such cost is in line with previous years. I'm reading that from the minutes.
And I recall that committee meeting as well, but I didn't know that it ever went to council.
I don't believe it ever went to council.
We will, we need to know where the money is coming from.
Right, we would need to know what the budget actually.
We will. We will, I think it's fair to say, have an answer for you, and at the next council meeting, you will know the answer.
That's a good one.
I mean, it's already been approved by council. I would think that we're going to be able to do the administrative
Take action
parts,
at the next council meeting.
either amend the budget or to identify where the source of funds come from.
Thank you.
But we will make,
Yes.
I have a quick question for you. Thank you for what you do, by the way. And secondly, my question would be, since you have Mr. Taylor, I think you mentioned him as your sponsor.
Correct.
How much does he give you as a sponsor?
I really don't think that's council's business unless Mr. Taylor wants to tell you that. That's private business between myself and Mr. Taylor. If he wants to tell you that, that would be entirely up to him.
Because I think that some of that, if that would be a substantial amount, would cover the police on that.
Well, last year the police coverage was $2,500, and the cost just keeps going up. And I think as you know, the contract scope of the police is going to get more and more expensive. And to be honest with you, if it continues to go up, I think that we're going to have to step away from the Christmas parade. So that's why I'm kind of throwing it back at council's hands. I think that a community event that we put on for the Christmas parade for this community, I think the city of Perrysburg could cover the police coverage.
That's all my questions.
Thank you.
Mayor Mack, I missed what you had said, your last comment.
I told him that, I told Mr. Ruffner that for the next council meeting, either we will need to take some administrative action or have council needs to take action. We will have it on the agenda item to resolve.
Is there any reason we can't do that tonight?
I would need to know the exact dollar amount, and I know what it was in the past,
Right.
but in talking with Chief Jones and myself, and I spoke with Mr. Ruffner about this, there is perhaps an opportunity to not only utilize some sheriff's auxiliary deputies, but perhaps some adult volunteers to help reduce that cost at certain corners or intersections. We haven't had that face-to-face discussion to see what we can actually pare down and just utilize our officers for and what that cost would be.
You know, we can still vote on a not to exceed amount and just not use that amount. And I don't see any reason why we need to delay this any further. And if we can vote and approve a not to exceed amount, then you can still try to get the auxiliary or whatever else. I guess if we're gonna pay police officers, we take it out of the salary and wages line.
Now, there is an overtime, I believe, line item for,
There's an overtime,
police.
there would definitely be overtime.
yes.
And I'm not sure, like, we've had this discussion before, I don't feel it matters what line item it comes out, as long as it comes out of that department, because we don't submit departmental budgets. We don't submit line item budgets when we pass the legislation. So it comes out of that department, so it'll come out of that department. So I would, unless somebody objects, I would make a motion that we amend our current budget to allow for not to exceed $3,500 to be used to
I
pay
don't
for.
think it would be amending the budget. I think it would just be
Well, actually,
just
that council allows for the spending of up to $3,500 to pay for the police.
so we're not amending the budget, we're just.
We're moving. Doesn't change, nothing changes.
Right.
Designating existing appropriation for overtime in the police division
However you guys want to do it.
towards the Christmas
administratively.
break.
And then I will work with you and we'll figure where we're getting all the coverage from.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, can you please repeat the motion so I know what I'm voting?
Yes, I guess I'm not sure how to make it because we're not increasing expenses or revenues.
Motion to designate funds within the police department budget to accommodate security for the Perrysburg.
Not to exceed $3,500.
2,500 is what was quoted in your finance committee meeting.
We can make it whatever. But
And that's what the cost was last year. I have no idea what the cost is gonna be this year. You would have a better handle on that than I, because you negotiate contracts.
I make the motion that she just stated with $3,500, and if it costs $2,000, then we'll spend $2,000.
I'll
second.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Discussion? Roll call?
Okay, Ms. Moore,
No.
Mr. Machuzak,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Thank you.
Got it clear?
Done.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank all of you.
All right. Administrative reports. I just got a text from Mayor Kaskavich saying it's already been disclosed that the City of Toledo Council unanimously approved the water contract. So now they have left the other jurisdictions. So we will have that go to Public Utilities Committee. We also have received, or the final draft, I think we just received it today from the consultants regarding the cost of water from obtained in from Bowling Green. We have not had a chance to review that yet. We will get it to the council either tomorrow or the next day, so that you will have all the information necessary to compare the cost of Toledo water versus Bowling Green water, and be able to make an informed decision based on due diligence. And then also we'll leave it to council how wants to proceed to invite the representatives from the Toledo Water Department here to answer questions.
If you don't mind, we can address that during the public utilities portion.
Yes. I would just report out.
Sir.
Administrator, do you have any?
Nothing to add to that.
Finance Director?
No,
Director Blanc?
Just as a follow-up to that, Mayor, I was notified by the water director for the city of Toledo that that Mayor Kaskavich would like to have that back within 45 days from the contracting community. So that gives us until October 18th to act, or the next 3 regularly scheduled council meetings of September 17th, October 1st, and October 15th.
Do you want to explain why, or?
Sure, I have a background there. The city of Toledo is asking for action from the contracting communities within the next 45 days to allow the city of Toledo the opportunity to present to their city council the water rate ordinances that would have to be in effect by January 1. Water rates are going to be determinant on how many contracting communities choose to select City of Toledo as their wholesale water provider. Right now there's 8 proposed contracting communities. If all 8 are involved, that will set a specific rate. If one of those contracting communities chooses to not choose City of Toledo, then that would affect the rates to all of the remaining ones. So for them to be able to hold their sufficient number of readings on their water rate ordinances and have them passed by the end of the year, they're asking for a final determination of whether or not you are in or out by October 18th.
I would also note, and I've said this before in public, and I haven't said it really to council, but this was a hard-fought negotiation, and actually the city of Perrysburg, Alice, Laura, and Bridget and myself were at a number of meetings, but really the technical teams, the lawyers, and the water people were at a number of meetings looking at all the numbers. And our group deserves much credit for picking through the information provided and really doing yeoman's work, making sure that the terms of the contract, in Laura's case, was fair and was consistent with the goals of the city of Perrysburg. And Alice was much to the consternation of the city of Toledo, went through all the water numbers with much diligence and care, and so I'm very comfortable that we were at the table and heard for our concerns in that process. All right.
Mr. Mayor, I have one comment about your legal section. The comment is this, the law director said nothing about the appeal that Perrysburg Heritage LLC has presented to council, so it's my duty to inform you that if an appeal is not held by September the 30th of this year, we are going to sue, and the delay will be part of it.
Point of order.
There is no point of order.
Everybody else today has come to the mic and said their name.
I'm sitting next to the mic, and I said my name is John Orser, and I'm representing Perrysburg Heritage LLC.
And you are representing as an owner, as a member, as?
I'm an owner of it,
Okay,
but it's an LLC.
I understand. And so as, I would assume the majority member, you are speaking on behalf of that?
That is correct.
All right, all right.
So you get it? You hold an appeal by September 30th. Don't interrupt me. You hold an appeal by September 30th or any sooner. And that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you very much.
So have a nice day.
I have had a very nice day. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, that is a matter between the law director and council, and that with any matter that would need to be handled that way, we will defer to the law director to comment or take any action that we feel necessary. So we didn't feel that was an item that was worthy of bringing up to council today. So thank you very much for your comments that were not exactly consistent with letters, communication, and citizens' concerns when those should have been brought up, but we appreciate you duly noting them.
It was brought up under the legal section, so don't try to play verbal games with me.
Anyway, moving on. President of Council.
Thank you. I guess I do have something to comment on, based on the public hearing that we had tonight. I would like to have a committee meeting as a whole to discuss the issue as a committee meeting as a whole. And Ms. Elkhart, in her summary that she provided for the public hearing, gave us no reason to drop the ball. She gave us a nice little timeline down here. And so we have to either approve or disapprove, and I think it would be a good idea to have a committee meeting of the whole before we take a vote at a council meeting. And we're not gonna vote on it tonight, but we could vote on it. We've got, what, 2 more meetings, I believe it is, before we have to,
Correct, September 17th and October 1st. And I think there was an option. if
we're
you
gonna
wanted
have a
to-
special meeting on the 24th. So I would prefer to have that committee meeting of the whole sooner rather than later. I can throw out some dates, or somebody else can throw out some dates. Let me get my calendar up here. So, the next council meeting is on the 17th, and to do it on the 17th, I'm sure that's right. Well, we can't do it on the 17th at this point, correct?
You could do a committee of the whole prior to the council meeting.
So before we get to that, one of the conversations that I know we have a couple committee of the whole meetings presently coming up. There's a conversation that Bridget and I had before the meeting about the September 17th council meeting and how it really wasn't too much on that agenda at that point. That we could potentially look at meeting a little early if council desires in order to have the committee meeting the whole regarding the water on the same day as the council and trying to invite Ed Moore as one of the few dates that we can select in order to have him come and give a presentation as well as our consultant for the PG option.
You both on the same
Trying to keep me to schedule a committee meeting of the whole that day so you can do it for public utilities.
Well, the 40-year decision or the 5-year decision? That's the question. So we have a lot of different dates here that we need to put out there for this water committee of the whole meeting. And I think it would behoove us to try to make that the top priority since we're trying to coordinate schedules. And whatever date that falls in that doesn't work, that we can make the
Do we know when the city of Toledo is available?
Not next week is what I was told.
My conversation with Mr. Moore today, late this afternoon, is he is extremely busy this week, but he seems to be open the following 2 weeks to be able to be available for an evening meeting. So he would be available, something like on the 17th, and as I was speaking with Ms. Elkhart before this meeting, there are literally perhaps 2, maybe 3 items for that agenda.
Right.
So it is a very light agenda. Unless, of course, council also chooses to vote on the door that evening, that may make it a little bit of a heavier agenda.
I mean, if we were to do a committee of the whole meeting to invite the water contract at say 5:30, not giving 15 minutes before a council meeting, knowing that there's going to be a lot of discussion, that could give it at least an hour, but knowing that that's going to move into council, or it could potentially come up that same night, if council wanted to, or council could create another committee. But you said you want a committee of the whole or to discuss the door prior to, is that the way I understood it?
We should,
Okay.
unless, I mean, if we would have to agree to that, if you guys don't want it, we won't do it, but I think we should.
Well, is 5:30 a good time for council on the water, on a committee of the whole?
For the 17th,
On the 17th,
I won't do that.
I'm okay with that. I really would like to make sure that Tim is available. I know he's not here.
Yeah.
But it's a big,
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Yeah.
If everybody else is here.
You can do it.
I'm not gonna promise anything. Like I said that.
this is probably one of the biggest decisions we'll
Yeah.
have made since.
And I really think that it would be beneficial to get as much time as possible, and so an earlier start, knowing that it's going to lead into the council meeting wouldn't be inappropriate. We'd all, for the most part, everyone knows that we should be available that night. I know Mr. McCarthy isn't here, but if we can reach out to him, and just I think he's on vacation this week.
Is an hour enough for both presentations?
No, it's gonna be more than an hour.
Okay, so you said 5.
5:30 to start off the water conversation,
Right.
knowing that it's going to move into the council meeting, potentially pushing the council meeting.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's a day that more people usually have readily available because we tend to set
I got
our
you.
schedule aside.
I'm fine with it.
I am also, as well. 17th is fine. Fine by me.
That's fine. I will reach out to Mr. McCarthy to make sure that he's available.
And then should we give a secondary date just in case?
We should.
I'm starting to steal all your thunder
No,
there.
it's fine, I'll see what was
Mr.
left over. Okay with it. I'm easy like Sunday morning.
The 18th, the next day.
Is there any meetings going on here on the 18th?
No.
No? Sorry, I had to check a couple of calendars to make certain it works. What if we look at the 19th?
It's open on the city's calendar.
I see one not available on the 19th. I could potentially make the 18th work, but if something changes, I can know here this evening after the meeting. So we could look at the 18th as another option.
So it'd be
And that's only if the 17th doesn't work for Mr. McCarthy or Mr. Moore.
Correct.
Same time.
At the same time, I would think would be appropriate.
Perfect.
Yes. More time, the better on the conversation. That's going to go pretty long. You know, the last time we had Tower people here, what we thought was going to be an hour definitely went well over that as well. And that wasn't even the final agreement.
So would we have both? Eugene Phillips and
I'm looking at the administration. I'm hoping we could potentially have.
The goal certainly is to have the city of Toledo here the 17th, and then we will work with the other consultants to see if they're also available at that date and time. But since we just have their final report back, their draft, we've not had communications as to when their availability is. But first and foremost, we wanted to get the city of Toledo over.
well, since it's the city of Toledo that's putting the timeline on it, I would suggest that we schedule something with Bowling Green sooner rather than later, so we don't.
Well,
Certainly.
actually with one reason, so the consultant.
Or consolidate for it together. We don't wanna show them that timeline, and we have to.
So we will reach out to Mr. McCarthy as well as the city of Toledo and Jones and Henry, who is our other consultant, to see if we can all converge on the 17th at 5:30. First preference, second preference would be the 18th at 5:30.
Yes.
So that's what you were waiting for public utilities.
That's what I was going to wait for public utilities, but seeing as how we have another urgent situation that has developed this month. And I'm sorry to steal the mic from you.
No, that's fine.
We're gonna talk about water before we talk about alcohol, right?
Gotta stay hydrated and drink.
All right.
So,
Go for the
so
door.
back to you.
Yes.
Okay, so committee meeting, I let that before the 17th. Hold my timeline here. I'm not necessarily concerned about voting on it on the 17th. I don't think that's, has to be done. We could do a special meeting on the 24th, or we could wait out October 1st.
Could you do it on the 18th? If the 17th is.
Why would I do it before that?
That's fine.
You were to do it before the 17th,
Oh, yeah. Is there any reason to wait any longer?
our calendars.
Well, let's go down the calendars and see what we have then.
The only day I would be able to do it would be the 10th.
The 10th. Well, we got finance and Parks and Rec at 5:30 and 6:30.
Yeah.
The 11th?
And he's fine.
I actually may be able to do the 11th, but I wouldn't be able to do it all.
So P and Z at 5:30, which means 3 people will be here at 5:30, so we can do 6:30.
Mr. Matusek, I can't do September 11th.
Okay. Well,
Can't do the 12th. That's what I want to take a new job.
suggest we don't do it on Friday the 13th.
It might be a perfect opportunity.
16th, Monday the 16th, anybody open?
No, they canceled. They canceled.
I can actually do the 16th. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it's gonna be the whole.
16th?
We'll just invite you.
5:30 work? You might go later.
5:30. 5:30 on the 16th.
5:30 on the 16th. Committee meeting in the whole. So right now we've got
For
the
Nora.
16th. We got 16th, 17th, and 18th slots. Well, for committee meeting of the whole, 2 of which we'll use. One will not be used, most likely.
What would be your preference for placing the door on the agenda? Do you want it on the 17th or the 1st?
I would say the first, unless we call a special meeting before that.
You don't want to deal with it on the 17th.
Well, because we don't know if we're gonna have all of our questions resolved in the report.
Or with all the water conversation
These
too.
are good questions that come up at the moment.
We can make the decision tonight. On the 16th, if we want to do it the 17th or the 1st.
You have to please keep in mind though that we have to advertise for 2 weeks
Okay,
prior
yeah.
to your actual vote.
So I need to know if you want to do it on the 1st, I have to know by the 13th. If you want to hold a special meeting on the 24th, I have to know by the 6th.
Is everybody available on the 24th?
September?
Sorry, yes.
Why don't we just do it on, just schedule it for the 1st or no council meeting? For a vote, correct?
As long as-
Just saying on one reading then, is that that's an emergency?
That's what it would have to be, because that's our drop dead date.
Right. And we can't use president council, that's it.
I won't put it back over first.
Okay,
You don't want to do 24th.
We just seem to be scheduled so many.
that's fine with me, I just want to make sure that,
Okay.
24 personnel and safety.
right,
You folks down there okay with that?
So is it October 1st, which is a regular council meeting?
Yeah.
right.
At what time, Steve? 6:30?
This might be,
Be part of the
Yeah, that's your
council.
regularly scheduled council meeting.
So will it be a part of the council meeting or will it be a council?
that'll just be the vote.
That would be the date the legislation is placed on the agenda.
And just to be clear, that's for Dora, correct?
Yes.
Do you think it would be appropriate to have it on the agenda from the 17th as a reading?
I don't know if we're gonna have language.
Not if you're gonna, Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it just because you're having a committee of the whole, so you already have a draft piece of legislation in front of you, but there may be changes. And I would want to be sure that the clerk of council would have the opportunity to have the final legislation posted and for public inspection. So, no.
Okay.
At this point, we may not even have an actual meeting, because if it all comes together on the 17th, right? The actual meeting would be the 18th, if there is one, and I'm talking about public utilities.
Sure.
So as we talk about how many additional meetings we're setting,
I was looking at the 16th, 17th, and 18th, thinking
Yeah.
that that's just,
so I guess a lot of it just depends on whether we want to have a special meeting.
just specifically for the order.
Well, that was the original recommendation of the president, right? So,
No, I agree.
council of the whole, so.
So they're having a committee of the whole on the
Committee of the
16th. We're not, no legislation to be acted on.
Correct.
Just, so the question would be, can it just be part of the regular agenda on the first? That passes the first measure or decline, whatever council prefers.
I think now there's a need for
So we have to,
a special meeting.
All right, that's up to council, that's fine.
Unless we decided.
I couldn't hear you, Jim.
I don't see a need for a special meeting before October 1st to vote on it. Unless someone decides that the committee as a whole, that we want to do it earlier rather than later, if we're all in agreement.
But we won't have, if we go to the 16th, we won't have to give proper notice.
I know, but we could have a special meeting before the first we wanted to.
But you can't take less action if we don't have notice. We have to give notice 2 weeks out.
On September 16th, we can agree to have a special council meeting 5 days later.
We have,
No,
I have to give our notice.
I have to advertise that council will be taking action for 2 consecutive weeks. So if you want to hold a special meeting on September 24th,
Yes.
the administration has to be notified by September 6th
Oh, I see it.
to be able to advertise it on September
That's
11th
what I'm
and
saying.
September 18th.
That's why it seems, I mean, council preference, but it seems that it could be just part of the regular agenda October 1st and just vote on it then. It seems,
That's fine.
if council's comfortable with that, let's proceed.
I'm sorry.
Just vote it on as part of the agenda October
I
1st.
just had a special committee of whole, so you can vote on it first.
Right. The administration will act on that and give notice.
We will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So is council of the whole, is that at 5:30 or is that at 6:30 on the 16th? 5:30. I'm just trying to be sure.
Thank you.
Got it.
And that's it for my president's report section.
Okay. Finance committee?
Thank you. I have no report, I have no legislation. Our next meeting is, what do I have here? On September 10th at 5:30. That's it.
Thank you very much. Service committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Service Committee met on August the 28th. Committee members present were Deborah Bourne, myself, and Mark Weber. Also present were Bridget Cabot, City Administrator, Laura Hawkeye, Law Director, and Rob Ross, Service Director. Consent to ODOT to conduct bridge inspection program services. Ms. Cabot explained that the city is required by state law to do bridge inspections within the city. She said that the last several times we have had to do this. ODOT has graciously offered their service to do the inspections for us free of charge. She estimated that if we would have to hire an outside contractor to do the work, it would cost the city approximately $10,000. Mr. Weber asked about the size of the bridges and if Ms. Cabot knew the number of bridges that would be inspected. Ms. Cabot said that there are different classifications for bridges, and she did not know the number, but she would find out. She said that the overpasses on the expressway are always ODOT's responsibility. Mr. I asked if ODOT gave a replacement suggestion, and Ms. Gaba said that they were giving it a rating. Ms. Bourne asked why this legislation needs to be an emergency, and Ms. Alkire explained that the current 3-year program expires December 31st, and ODOT is getting ready to bid out the program for the next 3 years. They need to know the number of communities that will be involved in the program. The committee agreed 3-0 to recommend approval of the legislation. Under other business, I welcome Mr. Ross as the new service director. Mr. Ross gave a brief history of his background and what his goals are for the service department. He said that he wants to evaluate all services and look for efficiencies and to create a positive work environment. He said that he thinks it's important to let the community know what they do. I said that the committee likes input and recommend communication. Ms. Cabot gave an update on the status of the CSX crossings in the city that had been closed for repair. She said that they were closed longer than expected, yet CSX is doing a better job of letting us know about closures and reopenings. Ms. Cabot said she receives the information and she passes it along to City Council and the public information officer. There was a brief discussion about the crossing on Rochton Road and its effect on the multi-use path, since that crossing was not on the list. Mr. Weber said that he asked the administration about the traffic light at Boundary in Louisiana and was told that a traffic study is going to be done. Ms. Cabot said that Proudfoot is doing the traffic study and will look at the traffic patterns now and in the future. There will be no further business. We adjourn at 5:21, and our next meeting will be Wednesday, September 25th at 5 p.m. We do have one resolution to introduce. I would like to introduce Resolution 54, 2019, and move that the rules be suspended to allow for its reading by number and title only, and to dispense with the second and third readings.
Roll call.
Okay, Ms. Bourne,
Yes.
Mr. Matusek,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
and Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Resolution number 54, 2019. A resolution of consent by the City of Perrysburg as a local public agency to the Ohio Department of Transportation for Bridge Inspection Program Services, PID number 109334, and declaring an emergency.
I move that Resolution 54, 2019 be passed as an emergency.
Discussion. Roll call.
Okay, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Matusek,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Ms. Bourne,
Yes.
and Mr. Van Huzen.
Yes. That concludes my report. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. I was flipping over, but.
That's okay.
Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no report, and the next safety committee meeting is Tuesday, September 24th at 6 p.m.
Planning and zoning, does it have a report? Oh, sorry, my bad, recreation.
Mr. Mayor, no report.
Thank you. Planning and zoning,
There's no report. The next meeting of the committee is Wednesday, September 11th at 5:30 p.m.
thank you very much. Want to keep going, personnel?
Sure. Personnel committee met on August 26th at 5:08 p.m. President and myself and Mr. Van Huzen, along with Laura Alcart, law director, and Cory Chalfa. Mr. McCarthy was absent, and city administrator Richard Cabot came in at 5:22. First item up for review was the proposed job description for the IT technician. The committee reviewed the job description and ordinance, and Mr. Van Huzen asked what, if any, changes were from the last review. Ms. Alcart stated that the administration had narrowed down the salary range from the last discussion in June to top out at $42,000 from the original $50,000. She added that the city will require this position to go through several different certifications over the course of a 2-year period. As such, those certifications would cost the city a total of $9,700 and would come out of the training budget. Mr. Van Huzen asked for the approval process clarification, and Ms. Chalfant added that the position will need to go through the budget process first, and so it will be for 2020. The committee agreed 2-0 to recommend approval of the job description for the IT technician. Position is written for the 2020 budget process. Second item was reviewing the proposed job description for safety coordinator. I noted that the pay range had changed from our last discussion from $45,000 to $65,000 and questioned whether other jurisdictions compared to Perrysburg had a similar position. Ms. Chalfant noted that Lucas County had at least one safety coordinator and that she acquired the pay range information from open positions from other municipalities via www.governmentjobs.com, which also included like Cleveland, Wisconsin, and Texas, she stated. I asked about the scope of the position and whether the coordinator would oversee police and fire safety too, and Ms. Chalfant added that there is more training to be done within the police and fire divisions. There was a brief discussion as to whether the position would be full or part-time, and I referenced Mr. Eccles' recommendations from our last meeting. Ms. Chalfant added that there is an option to transition this position from part-time to full-time depending upon the scope of the position going forward. I confirmed that this position was budgeted for 2020 and that the recommendation will be given to City Council. Ms. Chalfant added that the city has been spending $57,000 a year outsourcing the work of a safety coordinator. Ms. Alcar noted that she can include an hourly part-time position or an hourly wage matrix to the job description, and then the decision can be decided by the administration as to the ability to hire for 2020. Mr. Van Houston stated this position should be included in the budget for 2020 as a full-time position. Ms. Alcar also noticed the precedent was set for the construction inspector job description, whereas outlining a part-time hourly pay or a full-time salary pay. The committee agreed 2-0 to recommend approval of the job description for safety coordinator, which would be amending ordinance 267.01-2 by adding a part-time. Under other business, I asked about the interview process for open positions. Ms. Chalfant added that there were 2 candidates interviews tomorrow for the Commissioner of Public Utilities, which would have been on the 27th of August. She added that there were 7 candidates out of 28 for the Deputy Finance Director position, and that those interviews had not yet been set up. Mr. Van Dusen asked about the Lean Six Sigma and reconfiguration of job roles and titles, and Ms. Caddick added that there had not been any process happened yet, as they are awaiting the hire of the Deputy Finance Director. Mr. Van Dusen asked for a head count of city employment as the city grows and recedes, so that we can get a sense of a trend. And Ms. Chalfant added that there's recently been much turnover and growth, and that she has a 5-year personnel plan that she's been working on, and she said she would include a spreadsheet on our agenda for the next week. With there being no further business, we adjourn at 5:28. Our next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, September 24th at 5 p.m. We have 2 pieces of legislation. Does anyone mind if they're together or separate? No? Okay then, I would like to introduce ordinance 37 and 38, 2019, and move that the rules be suspended to allow for the reading by number and title only, and dispense with the second and third reading.
Second. Roll call?
Okay, Ms. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Matuzak.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Ordinance number 37, 2019. Ordinance amending ordinance number 11, 2019, previously adopted on March 19, 2019, amending code section 266.15-2 to include job descriptions for IT support / network technician and safety coordinator. Ordinance number 38, 2019, an ordinance amending ordinance number 8, 2019, previously adopted on January 21st, 2019, amending code section 267.01-2 to include the job title and wage range for the position of safety coordinator.
Then I would move that ordinance 37 and 38, 2019 be passed.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I have some questions. 2 questions. They both deal with the safety coordinator. How is it determined that the position would fall within the supervision of the human resources manager? How's that person have an expertise in supervising someone that's responsible for this?
Currently, our human resource manager in her previous life actually was considered almost like an industrial hygienist in a auto factory. So she did do safety coordinating and training. So she does have that background and experience.
Does she have the training that this person is going to be getting?
She has some of it. She worked under the OSHA rules, whereas in the public employment, you work under the PERP rules, public employment risk reduction area. So she does have familiarity with the background and standards for safety.
Will she get a minimum to get the training that the person that reports to her will have?
That is yet to be determined, because this person may come in with all the certifications that we're looking for, or may have the background and experience, but we believe that she is equipped to manage that individual.
Okay. And then, on its face, it looks like we're saving money. We're going from $57,000 to potentially budgeting it, first of all, was 45, and potentially as high as 65, depending on whether it's full-time. Well, that's a full-time gap. I know how you got there. This doesn't have any indication of what the cost of benefits would be for an employee that would be hired in that position.
So consistent with any employee, whether they're full-time or part-time, we have a requirement of approximately 18% in payroll taxes that is spread over whether it be PERS, Medicare, or workers' compensation. And then there's also the healthcare portion, and if you want it to be that is separate from 18%. And a single plan, we are currently budgeting, I believe, just shy of $7,000 in 2020. And a family plan, I believe, is just shy of $16,800 on an annual basis.
And what about just retirement benefits, things of that nature?
That is included in that 18%.
Okay. So let's see.
And that's if it were a full-time employee. If it was a part-time employee, you would just be looking at the 18%, which is the PERS, the Medicare, and the workers' compensation.
So
Because healthcare would not apply.
So if it's a full-time employee, 10%, quick on numbers, 20% of 65,000 is.
And we do have those numbers already figured out for everybody, yes.
That's another
We did that ahead
65
of
plus
time.
13 plus another potentially 16,800. And that's a,
So if
that's
you're
not cost
looking,
savings to the city.
so if you're looking at the IT position, and we did the calculations for both IT and the safety coordinator, a full-time safety coordinator. So the IT range right now is proposed at 30,000, topping out at 42,000. When you add an 18% for payroll, taxes, PERS, and factor in healthcare as a family plan at the highest level to be conservative, that range then goes from 52,198 to 66,358.
Okay, can you do the same thing to the safety?
And then on the safety coordinator, in a full-time position, would take that, the low end of 45,760, take that to 70,795, and at the high end of the range, adding in the 18% and factoring in family, that would be $94,111. For I think the all-in number that you were looking for.
Good way to put it.
So we're currently paying roughly $57,000 for certain specified training, and don't have anybody in-house that we can use to go out into the field, help us do spot inspections, and offer additional training that perhaps we're not providing our employees currently.
Is the 57,000 that we're paying, is that a fixed fee arrangement we have?
That is a contract.
It's a fixed fee, or is it an
Yes.
hourly rate?
Actually, it is an hourly rate that we are contracting with the firm for.
Okay.
And there are certain standard trainings that we're required every year to provide our certain groups of employees depending on what their job description is.
So the types of things that you're saying that we might not be addressing with the contractor, that we would with full-time employees, and the reason we're not addressing them with the contractor?
As we are becoming aware of deficiencies in departments, we're going to start adding some additional training, and we've already done that with one of our divisions that does excavation. So we just feel like this position may be better fit to transition from part-time to full-time as we better understand what some of the opportunities are that we're not affording our employees in terms of safety. Or if between Mr. Eckel, who's assisting us in this process, and Kelly Shelpon, along with the utilities director, can put together a program, we might find that this is actually more of a full-time position rather than part-time. And that is one of the reasons why Ms. Alkire suggested that we put it both in as both full-time and part-time while we continue to do our investigation internally.
If council remember, there was this was already on the works on degrees going forward, but we had some recent incidences where safety became an issue in certain departments, and that being something of a priority to the administration, that staff is safe and that things are done correctly. And so that was something that was, we wanted to make sure that was fully covered and would not happen again.
And Jim, just so you know, within our discussion with the personnel committee, we were going back and forth as far as full-time, part-time. And since we've gone 15 hours to recommend administration full-time, we thought, okay, at this point, let's put it in a part-time also on the matrix, so that, if it does not end up being a full-time job, that we can hire it out as part-time.
So when we get to the budget process.
Yes,
and
that will be right,
It's up to us anyway, whether or not
Right.
we can allow
Correct.
part-time or full-time.
But this allows for either.
It's just put some pieces in place to.
Yes, that's the framework up for whether it be tomorrow or the future.
And I was just gonna say, we had a significant conversation about the part-time versus full-time, because we are going from no position to a position, and what is warranted, and I think that description is being developed as we move forward.
Let's go from a part-time position, it's not an employee, it's a part-time contract position.
Right.
Yeah. It's not a in-house, right?
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Okay. Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Mr. Matusek,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
That's the end of my report.
Thank you very much.
Public utilities.
Thank you, Your Honor. Although you stole my thunder earlier regarding the whole Toledo vote today, I was there present at the meeting, so it was very interesting to watch that. What I will do is I will jump into our report for our last committee meeting, and we did have a meeting on August 28th. The meeting was called to order at 6 p.m. by Chairman Jonathan Smith. Committee members present were Jonathan Smith, Barry Van Huzen, and Mark Weber. Also present were Bridget Cabot, City Administrator, Laura Elkheimer, Law Director, and Alice Gassi, Director of Public Utilities. First item on the agenda is a citizen billing dispute by Ms. Teresa Cesare of 2099 Lexington Drive. Mr. and Mrs. Cesare of 2099 Lexington Drive were present to discuss a high water bill that they had received. The Cesares stated that the Department of Public Utilities tested the meter and watched the testing procedures. The test found the meter to be working properly. Mr. and Mrs. Cesare are certain they did not use the water reflected on their bill. It was noted that the consumption appears to be back to normal. Mr. Smith informed the Cesares that the committee can only review the sewer charges, and typically they review situations where there is proof that the water did not enter the sanitary sewer. He recommended they get a plumber to see if they can find a problem, as they did not. Ms. Elkheimer said that she will look into what options the committee has on top of the sewer charges. Mr. Weber asked if Ms. Gassi could check with the manufacturer of the meter to see if they had any similar situation where the meter malfunctioned and then worked properly again. Mr. Cesare also called the attention to a sewer issue they had recently experienced where there was a backup in their bathroom. Mr. Smith mentioned that Ms. Gassi emailed the Cesares and told them to send her their receipts, and the city would submit it to their insurance company. In condition of the ditch in front of the junior high school in South Foundry, Ms. Cabot distributed a map to the committee that showed what sections of the ditch in front of junior high are in the right of way and what sections are privately owned. She added there has been no flooding problems. Mr. Weber said he believes we are hearing about it because it's unsightly in front of the school. There was discussion regarding what authority the city has over the privately owned portions. There was also discussion about Grassy Creek and structures that have been built in it. Next item was approve the change order 2 and 3 for Pine Mulberry Waterline Project. Ms. Gassi requested approval of change orders 2 and 3 on the contract with Fern Nagel for the Pine Mulberry Waterline Project. She explained that change order 1 was approved administratively because it was a time extension and there was no cost involved. Ms. Gassi said that the change order 2 is for $32,333.95 and involves various unforeseen utility conflicts. Change order number 3 involves a review of final quantities at the end of the project and is a credit of $13,012.72 for a net increase of $19,321.23. Ms. Gassi requested that the change orders be approved as emergency because the work has already been performed and we are ready to close out the project and issue the final payment. Mr. Smith asked if any consideration that he would take an extra couple of feet for bikes on future projects on main roads. There was discussion regarding the use of funds, state laws, and multi-use paths. The committee agreed 3-0 to recommend approval of the change order. The water option updates. Mr. Smith asked the administration had received anything from the consultant about Bowling Green water. Ms. Cabot said they will have a report by the end of the week, which we should hopefully have this tomorrow or tomorrow's Wednesday or Thursday. She added that the city of Toledo is holding a public hearing on September 3rd and will be voting that night, and they feel they have the votes to pass the contract. So those utility and legal representatives will then be available to make a presentation at the committee of the whole meeting. Mr. Smith attended the first public hearing with the city of Toledo. At that hearing, Toledo mentioned they'll be giving the settlers 45 days to make a decision, which they confirmed. Ms. Elkire said that she had not heard that. Mr. Smith thanked Ms. Cabot and Ms. Gassi for their work throughout this multi-year process and said that he has heard from other communities that they've done a great job. Ms. Cabot said that she has heard from other attorneys and Ms. Elkire has been wonderful during this process. Ms. Gassi stated that the Northwest Water Sewer District will be holding a meeting at the Quality Inn on September 5th at 6:30 p.m. and she will be attending. There being no further business, the meeting adjourned at 7:18 p.m. and our next scheduled meeting is September 25th at 6 p.m. With that being said, there's two ordinances. Ordinance 31, 2019 is going to be tabled as there's still further discussions within the administration on that project, so we do not want to discuss that or move for that to be passed at this time. So with that, I will be introducing Resolution 55, 2019, and move that the rules be suspended to allow for its reading by number and title only, and dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call?
Okay, Ms. Warren,
Yes.
Mr. Matusek,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
and Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Resolution number 55, 2019, authorizing change order number 2 and change order number 3 to an agreement with Vernon Nagle Incorporated for construction of the Pine Street and Mulberry Street water main project for an increased cost of $19,321.23 and declaring emergency.
All right, I move that Resolution 55, 2019 be passed as an emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Okay, Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Matusek,
Yes.
Ms. Warren.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. There is no further business. I think we've already had all the discussion on water.
Excellent, thank you.
I have some other business, Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
I would like to make a comment about the Northwest Ohio Gold Star Monument, which has been proposed for erection in Riverside Park. State Representative Dan Barry, the initiator of this project, has stated on his Facebook page that City Council is in favor of this project. To the best of my knowledge, Council as a group has taken no position on this. I am pro-military, and members of my family have served in every American war from the Civil War to the Vietnam War. But I am personally opposed to its placement in Riverside Park, and considering that an identical Gold Star monument has already been approved for placement at the Wood County Courthouse in 2020 by the Wood County Commissioners, I question whether two such monuments, both representing Northwest Ohio, are necessary in close proximity. And I did get that from the VG Independent. And also it does say further to the east in the Veterans Memorial area will be a Gold Star Memorial and the Congressional Medal Monument. That will be at the Wood County Courthouse.
Thank you. Any other business? Motion to adjourn. We're adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.